Hello and welcome to the Craft Beer Corner. For today's beer review, we're jumping in to a beer from Gigantic Brewing Company. We've done many other beers over the years, but today is a definite deviation for Gigantic from me. We're jumping into an IPA today, and this one's called the Rise of Simcoe. Clocks in at 6.2% ABV, and this one is a fresh hop IPA. Gigantic Brewing is based in Portland, Oregon. So first things first, label art on this. It's pretty interesting. I don't even know how to describe it other than there is a giant hop vine with Simcoe all over it and something on the side. I can't quite make out what it is, but it's very colorful. They tend to have very colorful and artistic labels. But here we go. It's been a while since we've had a nice fresh hop IPA. Fresh hop is the designation that requires that a hop, it goes from literally the hop plant on the farm into the brewing process within 24 hours in order to be designated as a fresh hop beer. So very well done. This one was from a specific single farm in the Willamette Valley. They did say the name of it on here, Sodbusted Farms. So yeah, it's great. These Pacific Northwest brewers right up there in the hop belt of the country are easiest able to get these fresh hop designations on their beers because their local hop suppliers are right in their backyard. So really, really cool. We've done quite a few fresh hop beers over the years, and I love them. So let's get this cracked. We're going to get this poured in our nice tall all-purpose glass, which works great for IPAs. All right, pouring this one in. This is a nice, deep, kind of caramelly yellow color. It is not having a problem forming a head. Indeed, it's quite active in terms of carbonation, doing just a beautiful job. So we'll back that off. We won't get that whole bottle in here, especially with head creation like that. So yeah, visually, very nice, deep golden yellow color. A little bit of some caramelly hues to it. It's very, very nice looking in the glass. This is kind of that quintessential textbook IPA color I picture in my head when I think of an IPA. Yeah, this head is incredible. This easily could have been pulled from a tap. It looks absolutely fantastic. So let's get right up over this for a full sniff. Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, that's a Simcoe hop beer right there. Okay, so there is, very clear as you would expect, a lot of citrus that comes off of Simcoe, and there's a lot of kind of earthy and resinous qualities that come off in the aroma. The flavor profile does also tend to share a majority of the elements that you get on the nose, but I'm getting that very dominant on the nose. There's also a little subtle bit of tropical fruit, notably kind of pineapple on this one. It's very, very nice. But in tandem with just that fresh hop aroma that's very pronounced even through this ridiculously thick head, I can also really pick up this underlying malt bill. It smells very, very nice. It does smell a little bit caramelly, much like this kind of slight caramel color to it, and very clearly has an underlying kind of graininess and almost granola-like quality to it. This is just a tremendous smelling beer. Those fresh hops really do make a difference. It smells absolutely fantastic. This is going to make a mess of my beard. It is what it is, but we're going to jump right in and see what this one's about. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's very nice. That's a very nice beer. It really does taste super fresh, super crisp. I gotta say, Simcoe is a very high alpha acid content hop, and yeah, there's a nice kick of bitters, but this is only 6.2% ABV. This is not a stratospherically high, it's not an imperial, and it's nice. It's got a really good balance to it. That's my first big takeaway on first sip. So what I got was immediately upon swallowing just this big underlying earthy sense of bitters and this earthiness that paired with the underlying malt bill. Underneath that and pushing through it relatively quickly and almost equally as pronounced on the hop side of things, the kind of hop characteristic side of things, is that classic resinous kind of pine tar quality that you really often get strongly with Simcoe. No different in here. And I do think that with the fresh hop beers that use these high alpha acid content hops, you can really pick out the characteristic, both aroma and flavor profile of what the hops bring to the table very readily, and they tend to be a very clean presentation. there tends to be nothing really over the top or nothing that gets muddled. And I don't know if that's just got to do with how quickly they get it from the farm into the boil, but it's very, very nice every time. I always love trying these fresh hop beers. This one's really, really nice. So there is this underlying constant sense of earthy bitters and kind of resinous bitters, and there is a little bit of kind of a citrus rind, citrus oil quality coming through. That's the dominant flavor profile coming out of this fresh hop Simcoe addition to this beer. You also, just as on the nose, you could get this kind of caramelly and granola-like quality from the malt bill that really popped through. The same is true on the flavor profile, and that really contributes to the overall excellent, excellent balance on this beer. You really get the IPA heart and the hop being the star of the show, especially this fresh hop varieties that they have in here, but you also do still get the underlying elements from the malt bill playing their part. So it's really nice. It's just beautifully balanced. This is a very, very good beer. And yeah, Simcoe is high alpha acid. And yes, there is a nice kick of bitters, but this one's not over the top. I don't think that this would be off-putting to people that normally only go for hazies and more the kind of juicy, less bitter extracted into their beer. This maybe would be on the fence, but I don't think it's over the top as well at all. I think this is a much larger audience, a bigger appeal kind of IPA than just the diehard bitter hophead, which I love them all. Obviously, I'm a big hophead. I love the bitters, but the subtlety and the balance on this is excellent, and I don't think it's so astringently bitter that it would put off people that really don't go for bitter beers. But nonetheless, we're going to jump back in for a second sip. I'm going to pick apart this body mouthfeel, let everything re-intensify, and then we'll come back and talk about the finish. Excellent, excellent beer. The body on this, I would say, is kind of on the lower end of medium. It's kind of medium, medium light. It's not as robust as I would expect for 6.2% ABV on an IPA. The mouthfeel, it's a little more robust than the body. It's got a little bit more noticeable resistance to it. But kind of the other big takeaway for me on the mouthfeel is this one is rather silky. It is rather silky and creamy when you agitate around the palate, so it does feel quite nice. Just the body isn't quite as robust as I would expect in this ABV range. On second sip, yeah, I really do get a lot more re-intensification in particular the hop characteristics and the hop bittering side of the equation. On second sip, as it recoats the palate, there is a noticeable intensification in presence of bitters and being able to individually pick out these hop flavor characteristics. Notably on this one, it's this underlying earthy sense of bitters in tandem with that resinous. That's kind of the dominant. I'm still clearly getting some underlying citrus oils, but the resinous and the earthy kind of bitter side of it is very much dominant. And yeah, yet again, you get this really nice underlying malt bill. I stand by, this is an extremely, extremely well-balanced beer. It tastes absolutely delicious. These fresh hop beers, if you can't ever get your hands on them, I'm sorry. Do what you got to do to look around for them. Your local craft supply, any local brewer near your area, a Total Wine, something like that. You got to try them. They really are a treat, and this is no different. So let's talk about the finish on this. The finish on this one is quite a bit longer than I would expect for just a 6.2% ABV on an IPA. And really, it does come down to the bitter intensity that pushes it out on the back end. This is way longer than just a normal run-of-the-mill IPA. And it really is the intensity and the presence on the back end that lingers of the underlying kind of resinous and earthy bitter qualities. It does linger quite extensively on the back of the palate. It's not one of those in-your-face, massive, just bitters haunting the palate, because this is not over the top. But the mileage you get on the back of the palate on each sip, yeah, it's still present. It's still noticeable. It doesn't just disappear into nothing quickly. It does linger there, and it's quite nice. So you do get a lot of mileage on each sip. And this one has a nice, normal, rounded finish to it. Just a very, very well done beer here. I really enjoy these fresh hop IPAs. This one is excellent. So I'm going to take my time to sip on this, go up my scores. When we come back, we will get this one ranked from top to bottom. All right, now that we've gotten to enjoy this beer, we're going to get it ranked. This was Gigantic Brewing Company's Sodbusted IX. They have a lot of different versions of this. The Rise of Simcoe. This is a fresh hop IPA that clocked in at 6.2% ABV. Gigantic Brewing is based in Portland, Oregon. So this was a beer that was just absolutely phenomenal. Anytime I see these fresh hop versions of beers, I like to grab them. There is a definite and noticeable difference in a fresh hop version of a beer compared to a non-fresh hop. So it's really tough. There's never a ton of these produced every year because it's right at the peak of the harvest season and they have 24 hours to go from farm into the boil to make the beer in order to label itself a fresh hop version. And this was just another great example of why these are so interesting. They're just packed full of flavor and aroma, and they're really, really nuanced. So this beer did extremely well across the board, got perfect in almost all categories. Indeed, there were only two that it did not sweep it, so we will just discuss those specifically. The first one was the body. This was not a super high ABV, but it wasn't low either. 6.2%, and maybe low for an IPA, but it's still, I did expect a bit more substance to the beer and a bit more weight than I got. It was really just kind of in the medium light range, which for my money was a little bit lacking in substance. That said, it wasn't off-putting. It was just kind of on the low end of average in terms of the norm for this style in this ABV range, and the body did get a 4 out of 10. The second category, it did not get a perfect score, was in the mouthfeel. Now, compared to the body, mouthfeel was in a completely different league. It really did have very close to the exact right amount of resistance that I expected. It wasn't quite there, but it didn't miss it by that much. And certainly agitating around the palate, this one was really nice. It was very silky smooth, nice and creamy, and it really added a nice bit of needed contrast to that relatively lackluster for the ABV range body. But in general, the mouthfeel was well above average, and it did get an 8 out of 10. And then this beer did, of course, get a perfect 10 out of 10 in the remaining 8 categories. That's aroma, taste, finish, head and retention, appearance, balance, feeling/intangible, my subjective thoughts category, and example of style, which brings the total score on Gigantic Brewing Company's Sodbusted IX, The Rise of Simcoe, to a 92 out of 100. Guys, just a tremendous, tremendous beer. I know I mentioned it multiple times as I was drinking this and giving my initial thoughts. The balance was just superb, and the fresh hop version made it all the more enjoyable. Many multifaceted, nuanced layers of aroma and flavor, and that included the malt bill in this one. Just beautiful, beautiful beer. This was a great example of what these fresh hop beers are about. Extremely well done IPA, fresh hopper or otherwise. I would recommend this one to any IPA fan, and even people that don't go for super, super hoppy beers. Don't let the Simcoe hop scare you. This was very well balanced. Yeah, there were bitters, but it wasn't off-puttingly so. So if you normally only go for hazies or say like milkshake IPAs, this is one that maybe could help you start the stepping stone down the path of progressively more bitter forward beers. But I would recommend this to any IPA fan. Well worth your time. Folks, that's today's review. As always, I do sincerely appreciate you tuning in today. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to stay in the loop when our videos go live, just turn on your notifications, hit the bell icon. It's right next to the subscribe button. Until next time, keep it beer, keep it craft. We'll see you on the next one. Cheers.